Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to solve Leetcode Problem number 9, Palindrome Number. So the problem statement says, given an integer x, return true if x is a palindrome and false otherwise. So first, let's review what a palindrome is. A palindrome is when you can reverse the order of the letters in a word to create the same word. We can figure out if a string is a palindrome by simply reversing the string and comparing it to the original string. You might be asked to determine if a string is a palindrome without using built-in functions. So to do that, you'll typically use a two pointers technique where you'll have one pointer starting at the first letter of the string and the other pointer at the last letter of the string. We'll call this the left pointer and this the right pointer. So basically what we want to determine is if we loop through all the letters of the string, is the left pointer always equal to the right pointer? So each iteration of the loop, we increment our left pointer by 1 and we decrement our right pointer by 1. And we're always checking, does left equal right? Eventually, we'll get to the middle of the string, and if left still equals right, we know that this string is a palindrome. So when you're thinking about this problem, where instead of a string, we actually have a number, you could convert the number to a string and either use the built-in reverse method or the two-pointer method. However, this problem has an extra challenge. If we scroll down to the follow-up, it says, can you solve it without converting the integer to a string? So then it becomes an interesting challenge. We can't access the individual digits in a number like we can with a string. There are ways of finding out what's the number in the rightmost position and what's the number in the leftmost position. It's just not as straightforward of a process, but I'll show you exactly how we can do that and utilize the two pointers technique to determine if a number is palindromic. To solve this problem, we're going to need these two operators, the modulo operator and the floor division operator. And as a quick reminder as to what these operators do, let's look at this example. So when we divide 10 by 3, the answer is 3 with a remainder of 1. When we use this symbol, we get the remainder. And when we use this symbol, we get this answer, which is called the quotient. Let's look at another example. When we divide by 10, something interesting happens. We're able to split the number apart. Using floor division, we find the left half of the number, and using the modulus operator, we find the rightmost number. If we continue this process, we're able to break apart the entire number, going from right to left. So that will help us to move our right pointer, but we still need to figure out how to move our left pointer. How can we break apart the original number starting from the leftmost integer? Well, we can see here that we're able to grab the leftmost integer by using the quotient operator. We can get from this original number to the leftmost number by multiplying all of these 10s together. So 10 to the power of 3. This will give us what we're looking for, which is 2. And we need to move our left pointer over by 1. So if we look back over here, we know that we can extract the number 23 from our original number. And we also know we have a way of getting the last digit from a number. So what we can do is divide by 100 to get 23, and then take 23 modulo 10 to get 3. And we can basically repeat this process simultaneously for the left pointer and the right pointer until we meet in the middle to determine if the integer is a palindrome. So let's use what we've learned here and try to code up a solution. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is check if x is a negative integer, because if it is, it's actually not a palindrome. Negative 121 reversed is not equal to itself. So if x is less than 0, let's return false. Otherwise, we're going to want to loop through all of the integers within x. And to do that, we need to find the length of x. Let's assume that we have a function called numDigits, which will return the number of digits within x. And let's go ahead and write that function. So at the very least, we know that x is at least one digit. If x is greater than 9, so if it's more than one digit, let's divide it by 10. And however many times we can divide it by 10, that's how many digits we have. So now we have our number of digits within x. We can start writing our for loop. And we actually don't need to loop through the entire integer. We know once we get to the middle of the integer whether it's a palindrome or not. So let's divide this by 2. So first off, let's define our left pointer. In our example, when we had the number 2, 3, 4, 5 and we wanted the number 3, we divided it by 100 to get 23, and then we took 23 modulo 10 to get 3. So we can do the same thing here. Left is equal to x divided by some kind of divisor modulo 10. The divisor is just going to be 10 to the power of num digits minus 1 and then minus I to make sure we're decrementing this divisor each iteration of this loop. Okay, so we figured out our left pointer. Now we need to figure out our right pointer. To find the right pointer, we almost want to do the opposite process. We'll take x modulo 10 to the power of I plus 1. So the first iteration of this loop, I is 0, so we do x modulo 10. And if you remember from our example, x modulo 10 gives us 5. The next iteration of this loop, I will be 1, so 10 to the power of 2 is 100, so this will give us 45. To get the number 4, let's divide this by 10 to the power of I. In this case, 10 to the power of I, or 10 to the power of 1, is just 10. So 45 divided by 10 gives us 4. So now that we have our left and right pointers, the only thing left to do is check, are they equal to each other? If they're not equal to each other, then we know it's not a palindrome and we can return false. If we get this far and we haven't returned false, we know it's a palindrome, and let's return true. So before we submit this, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. I noticed a syntax error up here, and then I'm just going to remove these empty lines and our comments. Okay, I think we're ready to submit this. Let's see how we did. And it looks like we did pretty well. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back next week with even more Leetcode solutions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.